I'm 81 years old. Last Tuesday afternoon, I was trying to change a burned-out light bulb over the bathroom vanity mirror. I had to move a few things off the counter to make room for my small wooden step stool, and as I reached across the sink, my elbow accidentally clipped a massive plastic bottle of daily multivitamins. It hit the hard ceramic tile floor, the cheap plastic cap shattered upon impact, and roughly 200 brightly colored chalky pills scattered completely across the room. They rolled into the deep grout lines, hid under the wooden baseboards, and settled around the feet of the cast-iron clawfoot tub. I climbed down off the step stool and just stood there for a moment, looking at the mess. It looked exactly like somebody had taken a bag of cheap, colorful aquarium gravel and thrown it across my floor. I got down on my hands and knees with a small plastic dustpan and started sweeping them up. As I listened to them rattle heavily into the pan, I realized with a sudden clarity that I hadn't actually swallowed one of those enormous horse pills in nearly 5 years. I had bought that massive, bulk-sized bottle at a warehouse club out of sheer unthinking habit, placed it on the back of the bathroom counter, and completely ignored it. Sweeping up that chalky, dusty mess forced me to think about the incredible amount of blind, unquestioning faith my generation placed in the idea of a single convenient shortcut to human health. I spent the majority of my working years in community health education back in Ohio. During the late 1980s and early 90s, the daily multivitamin became an absolute religion in this country. We were dealing with working-class folks who were perpetually exhausted, eating heavy processed foods out of convenience, and running their physical engines straight into the ground, working long shifts at the manufacturing plants. The multivitamin was aggressively sold to us as the ultimate foolproof insurance policy. The logic was incredibly appealing to a tired generation. We were told that if we just swallowed this one massive compressed block of synthetic minerals and alphabet vitamins every single morning with our coffee, it would magically fill in all the deep nutritional potholes in our terrible diets. Margaret used to line them up for us next to the kitchen sink every morning. We swallowed them dutifully, believing we were actively patching the holes in our foundation. But human machinery does not work like a simple checklist on a clipboard. You cannot just dump a random heavy bucket of assorted screws, bolts, and scrap metal into the top of a running engine and expect the engine to automatically rebuild itself. When you compress 30 different synthetic vitamins and cheap minerals into a single chalky tablet, your digestive system simply does not know what to do with the sudden chaotic traffic jam. The minerals physically compete with each other for absorption in your gut. The iron actively blocks the calcium. The zinc fights with the copper. Your body, especially an older, slower digestive tract, gets completely overwhelmed by the chaotic delivery system, pulls out a tiny fraction of what it might actually need, and flushes the vast majority of it directly out of your system. For decades, we were essentially just paying for incredibly expensive, colorful waste. I didn't actually learn the mechanical truth of this until I was well into my 70s. I'd gone in for a comprehensive annual physical with my primary care doctor. I have a habit of bringing all my medication bottles and supplements in a brown paper grocery bag to these appointments, just to be entirely transparent about what I am putting into my tank. He reached into the bag, pulled out the giant plastic bottle of multivitamins, looked at the generic label for about 2 seconds, and set it completely aside on his desk. I asked him if I needed to go to the pharmacy and buy a better, more expensive brand. He looked at me and told me I needed to stop buying them altogether. He explained that at my age, my body did not need a chaotic shotgun approach to nutrition. My engine did not need 30 random low-quality ingredients fighting for space in my bloodstream. It was specifically and desperately starving for just 2 very exact, targeted tools that an aging body physically stops manufacturing and absorbing efficiently on its own. The first tool he told me to focus on was vitamin D. Now, living out here in the Arizona desert, you would logically think I would have more than enough of the sunshine vitamin circulating in my blood simply by walking out to get the mail. But my doctor explained a mechanical reality of getting older that completely changed my perspective. The skin of an 80-year-old man is simply not the same physical material as the skin of a 30-year-old man. It loses its biological ability to act as an efficient solar panel. You can stand in the brutal desert sun all afternoon, but your aging machinery cannot efficiently convert that raw sunlight into the active hormone your body desperately needs to survive. He told me to think of vitamin D exactly like the foreman on a massive construction site. As we get older, we are constantly told by the television and the magazines to consume more calcium to keep our aging bones from turning to dust. We drink the fortified milk, we eat the yogurt, and we swallow the heavy calcium chews. But calcium is just the raw material. It is just a stack of heavy bricks sitting idle in the driveway. Without the foreman there to direct the labor, those bricks never get built into a structural wall. In fact, without vitamin D to tell the calcium exactly where to go, that calcium can end up settling into the soft tissues of your arteries instead, essentially turning your flexible plumbing into rigid, dangerous stone. I stopped relying on the trace amounts of cheap vitamins in the daily pill and started taking a dedicated, high-quality vitamin D supplement. I made sure it was paired with vitamin K2 because my doctor explained that K2 acts like the traffic cop, ensuring the foreman directs the bricks straight into the bone where they actually belong and keeping them out of the pipes. The second tool was something I hadn't seriously thought about since my high school chemistry classes: magnesium. My doctor explained that magnesium is the absolute master lubricant for the entire human electrical grid. Every single time a muscle in your body physically contracts, whether it is your calf muscle taking a step up a curb or your heart muscle pumping blood to your extremities, it uses calcium to create that tension. But to release that tension, to allow the muscle to physically relax and reset for the next movement, your body absolutely requires magnesium. It is the mandatory chemical off switch. For years, I had been waking up in the middle of the night with brutal twisting cramps in my calves. My lower back was constantly rigid and tight when I got out of bed. My blood pressure was slowly creeping up no matter how carefully I watched my salt intake at the dinner table. I thought it was all just the unavoidable, miserable tightening of old age. I thought my hinges were just rusting shut. But it was actually a severe chronic shortage of oil in the machinery. The modern agricultural system has severely depleted the natural magnesium from our farm soils over the last 50 years, meaning it is hardly in our food anymore, even if you eat plenty of greens. And the standard blood pressure medications that so many of us take every morning actively flush whatever trace amounts of magnesium we do have straight out of our kidneys. My internal electrical grid was constantly firing, and it had absolutely no chemical mechanism to calm itself down. I started taking a specific, highly absorbable form of it called magnesium glycinate every single evening, right after I finished my dinner. I didn't take it as part of a chaotic multivitamin cluster. I took it as a deliberate, targeted piece of evening maintenance. The mechanical shift in my body over the next few months was profound and undeniable. The midnight leg cramps entirely disappeared, allowing me to finally sleep through the night. The deep, heavy stiffness in my lower back finally began to soften. When I laid down in bed at night, my body actually felt capable of dropping into a heavy, quiet gear. My engine finally had the necessary lubricant to cool down the electrical grid. When I finally finished sweeping up those hundreds of spilled multivitamin pills from my bathroom floor last week, I didn't try to salvage them. I didn't wipe them off and put them back in the broken bottle. I dumped the entire dustpan straight into the trash can under the sink. It felt incredibly liberating. We spend so much of our later years clinging tightly to the comfortable habits we formed in our 40s and 50s, terrified that if we change our daily routines, our fragile foundation will instantly crumble. But the physical reality is that an 81-year-old house requires a completely different kind of maintenance than a 50-year-old house. You cannot keep applying the same broad, generic, outdated fixes and expect them to hold the walls up forever. I am not sitting here telling you to walk into your bathroom today and throw all your pill bottles in the garbage. I am not a doctor, and I do not know the specific, intimate condition of your personal machinery. But I am asking you to stop relying on comfortable blind habits that were sold to you decades ago. The next time you sit in the examination room with your physician, ask them to look at your actual blood work, not just the generic charts. Ask them if you are just paying for expensive, chaotic waste with that daily multivitamin habit. Ask them if your specific engine is silently starving for the targeted heavy-duty tools like vitamin D and magnesium to keep your bones solid and your electrical grid calm. You still have the power to protect your own foundation. You still have the time to stop guessing and start genuinely repairing the damage. The independence we all fiercely want to hold on to is protected by using the right tools for the right job and having the courage to throw the useless ones away. Take a hard look at your own medicine cabinet this week. Take care of yourself. I'll see you next time.